Number 15. Work With Me, Annie. Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, 1954. This was the record your parents pretended they didn't know you were listening to. Released in 1954 on Federal Records, Work With Me, Annie arrived just as R&B was bubbling up from the dance floors of black clubs and starting to ripple into the mainstream. Hank Ballard had swagger, grit, and a sly grin in every note. The lyrics were so suggestive that radio stations tried to ban it outright, which of course only made teenagers want it more. Despite the controversy, the record shot to number 1 on the R&B chart and stayed there for weeks, becoming one of the biggest R&B hits of 1954. Jukebox operators couldn't keep it in stock. Coins dropped like rain. You could hear it spilling out of corner diners, house parties, and parked cars down by the river. Number 14. Tweedle Dee, LaVern Baker, 1955. This was one of those songs that felt like pure fun overflowing the edges. Released in early 1955 on Atlantic Records, LaVern Baker's Tweedle Dee brought a playful, flirtatious spark to R&B just as the genre was starting to shake the country awake. Her phrasing was clever. Her voice was warm with humor. She had that Chicago meets New Orleans swagger that could light up a whole room. But behind the joy, there was a story. When Baker toured, white pop singer Georgia Gibbs cut an almost note-for-note cover and performed it on national TV. Gibbs's version went higher on the pop charts, a reminder of how often black artists were imitated but not properly credited or rewarded. Baker didn't just complain, she fought back, even attempting legal and copyright challenges over copied arrangements, making her one of the early figures pushing for artistic ownership in popular music. Number 13. Pledging My Love, Johnny Ace, 1954. Now this one touched people. Released in late 1954 on Duke Records, Pledging My Love came from Johnny Ace, a rising star with a tender voice that could melt a room into silence. The record played in dim-lit bars, backseat romances, and quiet, private moments you don't forget. But the story behind it carries both beauty and heartbreak. On Christmas night 1954, as the record was just taking off, Johnny Ace died from an accidental self-inflicted gunshot backstage in Houston. He was only 25, right as his career was crossing over to a much bigger audience. Number 12. Money Honey, Clyde McPhatter and the Drifters, 1953. This was street corner harmony, polished into pure gold. Released in 1953 on Atlantic Records, Money Honey was the first single by the newly formed Drifters, fronted by Clyde McPhatter. It became a massive R&B hit, sitting on the chart for 23 weeks and reaching number 1. McPhatter's voice soared like it had wings. You can feel the gospel roots in every note, the kind of singing that came straight from Sunday morning and landed in Saturday night. These weren't polished superstars yet. They were young men navigating city life, cheap rent, long hours, big dreams. The lyrics were playful, but the heartbeat underneath was real. People scraping by, laughing through the struggle. When this played on a hot summer block, kids danced barefoot on the pavement. Neighbors leaned out of windows, and the whole street turned into one big front porch. This wasn't just R&B. It was community. If that one had your foot tapping, our next track turns the lights down low. Number 11. Since I Met You Baby, Ivory Joe Hunter, 1956. Here's a song that wrapped tenderness in velvet. Released in 1956 on Atlantic, Since I Met You Baby found Ivory Joe Hunter bringing a calm, dignified warmth to R&B. His voice didn't have to shout to be felt. This was real romance music, handwritten letters, Sunday strolls, holding a hand just a little longer. Hunter had already recorded over 100 songs, touching blues, country, and pop. But this one crossed over in a big way, hitting #1 on the R&B chart and breaking into the pop top 40 around number 12. It brought black and white listeners together on the same late-night frequencies. If you remember hearing this on a quiet winter evening, sitting by the radio with someone special, you remember how time seemed to slow. Everyone from B.B. King to Jerry Lee Lewis would cover it later, but nobody ever matched the softness of Ivory Joe's original. If this one softened the heart, the next track lights the spark again. Number 10. I Only Have Eyes for You. The Flamingos, 1959. Now here is a song that doesn't just play. It floats. Released in 1959 on End Records, the Flamingos took a 1930s standard and transformed it into something dreamlike and almost otherworldly. Those echoing doo-bop shbop harmonies feel suspended in midair, like moonlight drifting across a quiet dance floor. This was the soundtrack to slow dances where nobody spoke because they didn't need to. One hand on a waist, another in a palm, the world disappearing around them. The layered production and reverb gave it a shimmering, surreal quality that critics still point to as one of the most romantic recordings ever pressed to vinyl. You don't just listen to it, you float inside it. If this was the sound of a heart in love, the next track is the sound of a heart on fire. Number 9. Searchin. The Coasters, 1957. Now this one brought attitude to the dance floor. Released in 1957 on Atco Records, Searchin hit right as rhythm and blues was sharpening into early rock and roll. The Coasters didn't just sing, they performed. Their delivery was theatrical, playful, full of character. You can imagine a kid with a transistor radio held low, collar turned up, hair just right, singing along and acting out the detective names. Sherlock Holmes, Sam Spade, everybody laughing and chiming in. Written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, the song became a monster hit. It topped the R&B chart for an incredible 13 weeks, making it one of the biggest R&B singles of 1957. If this was playful swagger, the next track brings pure heart and harmony. Number 8. Earth Angel, Will You Be Mine? The Penguins, 1954. Now we're stepping straight into the heart of teenage romance in the mid-50s. Released in 1954 on Dowtone Records, Earth Angel started as a lo-fi B-side, recorded in a garage in south-central Los Angeles by a young doo-wop group called the Penguins. They were just kids singing on street corners, harmonizing under neon signs, chasing dreams as big as the night sky. When DJs flipped the record and started spinning Earth Angel, it took off, becoming one of the first big doo-wop hits to break wide nationally, and one of the first indie label records to crack the pop charts. It topped the R&B charts and became the group's one huge hit. From school gym dances to soda shops and basement slow dance parties, this was the song. When it came on, the lights felt softer, the world quieter, and your heartbeat just a little louder. Maybe you held someone close. Maybe you hoped to. Maybe you were just dreaming. And that's the magic. This song carried dreamers. And it still does. If this was first love in song form, the next track is where soul finds its spark and fire. Number 7. What Did I Say? Ray Charles, 1959. This one didn't just change music, It lit the fuse on what soul would become. Released in 1959 on Atlantic Records, What Did I Say started as improv. Ray Charles had run out of songs at the end of a live set, so he just kept playing, building riffs, call and response with the Raylettes, and a grinding groove that sent the crowd into a frenzy. The churchy call and response, that was gospel. The grinding rhythm, that was the blues. The energy and innuendo, that was something brand new. Some radio stations tried to ban it for being too suggestive, but the record blew up anyway, hitting #1 on the R&B chart and breaking Ray into the pop top 10. Teenagers cranked it up, dancers spun and dipped, whole rooms shook. This was R&B stepping boldly into the future, with Ray at the front, grinning behind those dark shades, and we're just getting warm. Number 6. You Send Me, Sam Cooke, 1957. Now this was pure elegance. Released in 1957 on Keen Records, You Send Me marked Sam Cooke's transition from beloved gospel singer to full-on crossover star. He had a voice like satin, smooth, effortless, full of quiet joy. When he sang, it felt like there was a smile hiding in every note. The label didn't even expect it to be the big hit. They were pushing another song, but radio DJs kept flipping the record. Once they played You Send Me, phone lines lit up. Teenagers requested it over and over, and couples leaned just a little closer on the dance floor. The song went all the way to #1 on both the R&B chart and the Pop Hot 100, making Sam Cooke a national star. You can still picture it. A slow spin under soft lights, a gentle handhold, a head resting on a shoulder. It became young love's anthem, simple, tender, unforgettable. This was one of the key moments when R&B became something universal, something the whole world could feel. If these classic memories are warming your heart, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps keep this music alive. And don't go anywhere. We're about to step into the top 5, and the songs only get sweeter from here. Number 5. Ain't That a Shame, Fats Domino, 1955. Here's a song that could make the whole room move, even while it was singing about heartbreak. Released in 1955 on Imperial Records, Ain't That a Shame found Fats Domino at the height of his rolling New Orleans groove. That piano didn't just keep time. It smiled, it danced, it invited you in. The record became one of the first R&B hits to really smash into the pop charts on its own terms, hitting #1 R&B and top 10 pop. A smoother, sanitized cover by Pat Boone also hit big, but listeners kept drifting back to Fats' version, because soul recognizes soul. You could feel the life in it, the heartbeat of New Orleans, the drums and horns swinging like a July porch breeze. If you ever slow danced or two-stepped to this, you remember that bittersweet smile, knowing love sometimes slips through your hands, but the music gets you through. If that was heartbreak with a grin, the next track is pure dreamy harmony. Number 4. In the Still of the Night, The 5 Satins, 1956. This is the slow dance record, maybe the defining one. Recorded in February 1956 in the basement of St. Bernadette Catholic Church in New Haven, Connecticut. In the Still of the Night didn't have a fancy studio or big budget. What it did have was heart. Fred Paris wrote it while on night guard duty in the Army, thinking about the girl he had to leave behind. You can hear that longing in every word, every harmony, every shoo bop, shoo bop. The record only charted modestly at first, but it refused to fade, returning to the charts in later years and becoming one of the most beloved doo-wop songs of all time. School dances, teenage basement parties, backseat radios humming in the dark. This was the memory song. If this one feels like a warm memory, the next track is where rhythm jumps forward and swings. Number 3. Charlie Brown. The Coasters, 1959. This one brought pure humor onto the airwaves. Released in 1959 on Atco, Charlie Brown was the Coasters doing what they did best, telling stories you could see as clearly as you could hear. Every voice in the group played a character. Every line had a wink. And that deep bass voice asking, "Why's everybody always picking on me?" became one of the most iconic hooks of the decade. You could hear it blasting from school hallway radio summer cookouts and living rooms where kids slid across the linoleum floor in their socks. The music was playful, but the craftsmanship was serious. Written and produced by Lieber and Stoller, the song bounced all the way to number 2 on the pop charts. It gave kids permission to be loud, silly, and expressive at a time when youth culture was just starting to define itself. If this track was full of fun and personality, the next one is pure elegance, the kind that turns heads and hearts. Number 2. I Got a Woman. Ray Charles, 1954. This is where soul takes its first breath. Released in 1954 on Atlantic, I Got a Woman is often cited as one of the very first soul records. The moment Ray Charles fused gospel's fire with R&B's grit. He didn't just sing, he testified. His voice rose like a preacher on Sunday morning, then settled into a deep, late-night groove that felt like kitchen lights and quiet affection. People weren't used to hearing sacred energy and earthly love mixed together in one song. But once they did, there was no going back. This track became the blueprint, the spark that would ignite soul music in the decade to come. Without this record, soul as we know it doesn't exist, and nothing will quite prepare you for the song we have at number 1. It's one of the deepest musical memories of that era, a song nearly everyone carries in their heart. Number 1. Stand By Me, Ben E. King, 1961. Yeah, this one steps just outside the 1950s. But listen, for the kids who grew up in that decade, Stand By Me felt like the moment when the world turned, when childhood shifted into something deeper. Released in 1961 on Atco Records, Stand By Me was co-written by Ben E. King and Mike Stoller. Its title and feel were inspired by a gospel Stand By McPhatter traditions. King had just left and was stepping into his own voice. Those opening bass notes, boom, 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 don't just start a song. They unlock a memory. Teenagers slow dancing in church basements, streetlights flickering on, friends promising they'd always stay close, lovers holding hands like it meant forever. The record went to number 1 on the R&B chart and top 5 on the pop chart, then came back again in the 1980s thanks to the film Stand By Me, proving just how timeless it really is. This wasn't just music. This was the soundtrack to growing up.